Oh, yay! Welcome to discover being experiencing. This is what we're here for. I trust you are interested in discovering your nature as being experiencing, which is your absolute fundamental nature. Our nature is aware, being cognizant, conscious of what we are experiencing. Um, this discovery is certainly not new. It goes back to Buddha as a historical figure who made such a discovery, and many others have realized this nature since then. But the standard approach to this is an internal view, staying away from the world because it's understood as a mental or an inner state of being. Actually, that that leaves us pretty much with experiencing our inner mental states, whereas being experiencing is actually the entirety of our aware experiencing. Everything we're experiencing is experienced in this process, in this nature of being, which we are. And so to reveal the greater scope of our beingness experiencing, that is the purpose of this. And to do this, we're not going to take an inner look. We're going to look in an outer way, and this is facilitated by scientific understanding over the last several centuries coming together right here on this channel for you, as I am a scientist and astronomer, and I've realized this myself, quite simply, as a matter of fact, and so it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to realize your nature as being, if we take this view, this view of outer vision. So it's a vision of what we take to be the world. And to do that, I'd like to begin with sharing with you a view that I have of the world here, out this window. And it's quite worthwhile, I think. And so I'd like to with you now. This is a view of the canyon and this tree. This tree is going to be our agent of discovery. We're going to follow our viewing, our seeing of this tree right to our nature as being. So, yay! So let's that and how to get that to work for us. Well, it begins with the nature of the eye, how the eye works, um, and well, we just can't look into the eye to see how it works, but we need to understand how the eye works. And when you understand how the eye works, it's going to take us straight away to our nature as being experiencing. We're going to discover it that way. So, in order to make that to facilitate that discovery, I've made a model. It's so big it's almost a telescope, which as an astronomer that has some relevance. But this is an eye. This is a model of our eye, and with this, we're going to look out the window at that tree, and this eye affords us an advantage. It allows us to look within it. So as we look out the window, we find that we can actually see within this eye. And as we do, we find there is the tree. Well, what we're seeing is actually now not the tree, of course. Now we're seeing an image of the tree on the retina of this eye. an image of the tree, and you see that image being formed by the lens. Here's the lens of the eye, and that forms an image of the tree on the retina, on the detector. We're going to follow what happens to this image, because this image is going to take us directly to our nature as being, experiencing. So yay. Let's see how that works. To do that, I think I'm going to need a diagram. Let's see if I can bring up, pardon me while I try to bring up this diagram. Oh, yay. All right. Now we're getting there. Okay, yay. Here we see a diagram on this lower part where we see exactly what we've been talking about. The tree that we saw out the window, and the eye that's observing it. Our eye, or the giant model eye. This is our eye now. Think of this as being your eye, looking at the tree. Notice, let's follow these rays of light, because the way they come to a focus is important in how we're going to discover our nature as being. Let's say the sun is shining on the tree, and so light's going off in all directions, and the light, let's say from the tip of the tree here, the top, let's say it's going, let's follow it through the center of the lens. It goes straight through the center of the lens and reaches the retina where it stopped at the retina. It's forming an image here. And then a light from, again, from the top of the tree going into, say, the top part of the lens is bent down by refraction and goes to the tip of the tree in the image. And then light from, again, the top of the tree coming in the bottom part of the lens is bent up slightly and goes to the tip of the tree in the image. So where these rays cross, all the rays coming in through the lens cross at a point, that is the focal point, the point of focus where the image is sharpest. This point, as long as it lies on the detector, gives us a sharp image, and that's what we're used to seeing. So this is important to keep in mind, that image is formed by rays of light coming from an object in the physical world, forming an image, again, in the physical world, of light now on a focal surface, which is a detector. And so the detector now is detecting the energy of that light. The light is stopping there. The light is stopped, but the energy is picked up in the form of electrical signal and read out, and it's read out to the brain. So all of this is happening in our body, which is part of the physical world. I want to emphasize, as a scientist, that I'm viewing this as a physical world, not as a consciousness domain. This is where you feel force and pressure, and where matter exists, and all of the laws of motion pertain. So this, just think of this as the way you normally think of the physical world, because that's what it represents, and what the physical world actually is. We're going to see how this works. So the information is read to the brain, still part of a physical world, the visual cortex. But from there, now things begin to take a different venue. Now this information is sent on to mind. Mind, partly going on in the brain, but partly not, and we get into that later. But mind now is really performing the function of creating the result of this image. Mind takes the information from both of our eyes and uses that information to create a three-dimensional model of what the eye is detecting, of what it is seeing, what it is detecting. The eye's not seeing anything really, but it's forming that image. And now we're getting, mind is forming this model of that, all the colors and the three-dimensional perspective and everything, but we don't see it there. Mind is, like you call us, say, the model maker. Mind then sends this information to display. Display is where we see it. The display is a consciousness medium in which these appearances arise. This seems strange. What are we talking about here? Well, for the moment, think of your cell phone. Your cell phone has a lens, and it you point it out at the world, and that lens focuses an image, and that image goes to a computer processor, and that the processor then sends that information to display, and you see the display on the back of your cell phone. You don't see it inside the cell phone, where all this is the inside equivalent. You see it on the display, and this corresponds to the display of the cell phone, and it's something we're aware of. It's basically a consciousness medium in which the appearance is arising. So that seems to make some sense, but the issue is where are we seeing that? When we just, where do we experience the seeing of this displaying? And of course, we experience the seeing of this displaying not here, not in a separate consciousness place somehow identifiable by itself, but we experience it right on top of the physical world itself. We experience this display of appearances superimposed on the physical world. It is exactly what you are seeing right there in front of you. Like, come on, Jim, this is insane. This is the physical world I see in front of me. Yes, it is the physical world, but what you are seeing is not actually it. You are seeing this process superimposed on that physical world, and yet as you see it, it's like, no, I see it as the world itself. Well, we can see how that works. It's an element of the processing of this information. It's further processing. Let me bring up one more detail on this, if I may be able to, hopefully. There we have it. Okay, now, here we have what happens. This represents awareness with a focus of attention. When you put your attention on an appearance in front of you, that causes that information, the information of that appearance that you're interested in, to be sent back to mind and sent back to brain. It goes all the way back to brain. And brain then, its synapses. So here's the information going back. And here's brain, let's say, with its synapses already. And so that information comes back, and brain starts checking. Okay, what do I have? Do I have anything that matches? Oh, yes. All right, it's a tree. So brain says, send information back. Tells mind, send information back to the display that this is actually a tree. So a concept is sent back. A concept of tree is sent back, and added to the pure appearance that was just this visual appearance initially. Now it gets a concept overlaid on it. The concept is tree. And now as you look at it, you just see tree. And as you look at everything in front of you, that process is going on. Notice your attention settles on the surface of an appearance, and then you see that appearance as a table or a lamp or whatever it is that you're looking at. That is called objectification. That's the second stage of our visual process. Objectification or reification. I like the word reification because it seems to imply make real. It means to objectify. So we reify the appearance in this process by putting this reification concept onto it, and that then superimposed on the physical world object. So what we're alleging here is that we're actually seeing our own display superimposed on that physical world. Yes. Can we somehow prove that? Yes, as a matter of fact, we can prove that, and I like to use just reading glasses, which I call enlightenment machines, to do this, because if you put on reading glasses, it changes the focus of the eye. It adds power. It adds power to the lens, and the light then, with that additional power, is brought to a shorter focus. The focus is shorter, and so these lines where they cross, which I wanted you to notice, they cross in front of the retina. They cross in front of and by the time they reach it, they've diverged back out. And so now it's a fuzzy, blurry image that's forming, not a sharp in-focus image. So by putting on reading glasses, we intentionally defocus the image on the retina. If you just look at something up close, then that brings the focus up to where it belongs, and you see text sharply. But if you look at something at a distance, that focus is brought off of the retina, and you get the fuzzy image. So, if you have reading glasses, I want you to put them on. If you don't, you really must buy a cheap, inexpensive pair of these. You can get up there for a couple of dollars. They need to be about a 4 diopter, 3.5 at least, in order to make this really obvious. And then put on your reading glasses. And when you put them on and look at a distance, oh, everything is fuzzy. Well, yes, it's fuzzy because exactly why we just described. It's fuzzy because the image on your retina is out of focus. And where do you see it? You see it superimposed on what you know is the world. You see it, you know the world is there. It's not a question. It's absolutely there. But the way we experience it visually, and I mentioned experience, the way we are experiencing of that visually is through this consciousness display of appearances that is right here. And this consciousness displaying of appearances with its built-in awareness and its pure consciousness, clear consciousness nature, which is the medium in which its displaying arises, and the displaying itself, these are together constitute the nature of our beingness. This is being. This is us as being. The awareness is here. The experiencing of the appearance is here. The consciousness that we have as a living entity is in this beingness, in this very beingness which is doing this displaying. Now here it looks like it's some kind of limited thing, but it's not limited. I mean, look out there in front of you. Everything that you're seeing is of this nature. and your awareness goes out to all of it. So this being is very expansive. It's the totality of your experiencing. And of course, we see it superimposed on the world, but that does not diminish the world. Does not make the world consciousness. No, this is just this is our beingness. You can know the world is there by just thumping on the tree trunk, very solid, or tap your foot on the floor. You feel the resistance. That's a physical world. This is not in doubt. This is not a consciousness, a medium. This is not a consciousness in itself. This is the consciousness, and that we see it superimposed. And you put on the reading glasses, and you see that superposition directly. What are the properties? Let's consider the properties of this so that you have a good, full understanding of your nature as being. The properties are the clear consciousness itself in which this arises. You see the appearance of that consciousness in the clear space before you. That is the first and fundamental. From out of that clear consciousness arises the awareness and the appearance. The appearances arise, and the awareness of them arise with that. So the awareness is part of this conscious field. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like, oh, I'm aware, and that's different. And so this is part of getting to the point of identifying. Well, we can identify with our nature as being. Right now, it seems like, oh, this is not me. I mean, I'm here. And that's that awareness stuff you're talking about is out there, but actually we can realize that our awareness is indeed there. To do this, you can just combine the two. I used to try to do it by trying to put my awareness out there. That didn't work too well, but I found that you can look in the clear, and you can notice awareness seems to be around your eyes, and you can bring clear to that awareness. Just bring it right there. And when that clear meets with the awareness, it's like a fusion. It's like there's suddenly a lucidity and a sort of a widening. And now, in that state, notice that your awareness is throughout the entire clear space. This is true. This is the way it really is, you see. So now you're experiencing your beingness in this. This is referred to non-duality. This is your real nature that you're experiencing. The combination of that clear field of consciousness and your awareness of it. Now, as you keep your attention in this clear, you're not doing this. You're not going out and making this contact and causing this feedback. You see, and so if you keep your attention just in the clear part of that display in front of you, then it gives an opportunity to just experience the first arising of the pure appearance before it gets reified. And so you begin to see that, yeah, the appearances are all there, but yeah, maybe I'm not objectifying them so much. It's not easy. It's much easier, if you put the reading glasses on, and now it's kind of fuzzy. And so, well, yeah, I don't need to objectify that. It's just a fuzz. That is bringing the three of them together into your cognizance of the single nature of this consciousness nature of your own beingness. Now you can take this farther. You can bring this awareness within, like as if you begin there. Because if we had started with an inner meditation, the awareness would all be focused within. But I want to comment on something before we do that, and that is these appearances, as they arise, they also dissolve back into the clear. In other words, if you see an appearance, it's coming and it's going. The visual field of appearance is constantly being replaced by a new image, many times a second, maybe 20 times per second. So there's always a new one comes up, but the previous one went away. And this is true with thinking as well. You may have experienced a teaching that if you look for the space between thoughts, that if you engage the space between thoughts and you expand that space, then you find that you're entering into your actual nature as being, just pure. That's your nature as the fundamental consciousness of being. And indeed, that's this clear right here that you're exposing in that space between thoughts. And so we can use the clear we see in front of you. It's the same mental state. It's the same consciousness in our display. Not of the world. The world, of course, it's airspace, but our display we're talking about now. In the display, this consciousness is the same as anything you experience within or without. It's all the same. And so you can bring this clear into your thought space and try this now. Just notice where you're thinking. I'm thinking, and then bring clear to where you feel it. And keep your attention on clear there. Just fill that thought space with clear and keep your attention on clear. Thoughts stop. They just self-liberate. This is self-liberation. Self-liberation in the clear of the natural state is the most important factor of what you're realizing right now today in this introduction to your nature as being experiencing. This fact of the appearances that we now know we're simply seeing and experiencing appearances. These are appearances that apply to everything. They apply to our thoughts, as you just experienced. They apply to our experience of emotion. But what I want you to experience now is your full identity with your nature as being. In other words, now you have the sense, okay, my awareness and consciousness of the display, I can combine those by doing this. But I'm still like, yeah, it's me doing this, and that's kind of me. I mean, I can sort of identify with awareness. That's good. That's the first aspect of being that we can really identify with. Is I'm aware. I can almost say I am this awareness, but it's kind of it's a little bit fake in a way. It's like we know we're more than the awareness, but the sense of what we are is also just a set of ideas. And that set of ideas, they're rising in this display. And so they can self-liberate. That set of ideas of what we are, we can let them go. They'll come right back, of course. But we can let them go and we can experience this beingness without those self-notions in them, just as a clear consciousness of our own nature of being, by simply noticing where the ideas of our self-nature are going on, which you can do by just thinking I. It seems to be kind of behind here a little bit. And then if you think of what you did yesterday, oh yeah, I did this. And if you notice, oh, it might take you to there, but think of think of yourself, oh, I was doing this yesterday and I'm going, it kind of is right same place. And so if you now, again, let's take the clear, like we've took it into our thought space. Let's take this clear and put it into that self-notion space. Just fill that self and keep your attention on clear when you do. Now self-notions have become clear. They have become the clear of your own consciousness, which is the state of being. This is pure being. Now you're experiencing as your actual nature of being, pure being. Notice how the display now is coming up quite pure. It will still, your brain is trying to reify it, but as you work with this, it'll become more and more clear. This is just something to experience. It's not a way to live, but this is a way to experience your fundamental nature as being, which is what you're doing when you clear that space of ideation, of self-notion. And now Notice now how uh, your cognitive when is now. It's everything is in the moment. This being in the moment. This is being in the moment. Being is always in the moment. This is a kind of a way of identifying that it is your beingness that's experiencing is always in the moment. When you think future or think past, then these are ideas that are arising, that are obfuscating your experience of beingness itself. But when you bring clear into that identity space, and as it goes away, you can just clear it again. Now, you can speak. I mean, I am speaking in that state, but it's better not to. Just observe. You are the witnessing of your own displaying. You are the awareness of your own displaying. Being. This is being. This is you. This is completely ongoing. In other words, it's in the moment, but moments are completely ongoing. Yay. Oh, yay. So now to come back from this, you can simply look at appearances, and they reify, and you be, again in your regular ordinary state of simply being engaged in your physical and spirit embodiment, because your spirit is functioning in this level of mind as well. This is not spirit. This is being. Being is pure consciousness. It's beyond all of it. This is more spirit nature. This is your physical nature, brain, body. So yes, this this spirit nature of mind and brain is providing mental process also. It's a bit difficult to separate them, but in dream it's all you can think of as being spirit nature. It's interesting in dream. If you notice in dream, it's always in the moment. Some guy just realized last night, for heaven's sake, that in dream you are in this state of pure being, without putting any identity concepts superimposed on it. You're just the aware experiencing of your own displaying. You don't notice that it's display like we're causing you to do right now. But if you notice how you're experiencing it, it's strictly in the moment. And this validates another scenario, another venue in which being is your nature, which is a step in the direction of validating that being is entirely ongoing. That it's clearly not mortal. It is clearly our immortal nature, and as such, it just goes on, and doesn't need to be in this physical embodiment. But those are for other videos. This is your introduction to your nature as being. If you match these things to classical descriptions of our nature as being, for example, as the Buddha nature, for example, is said to be our nature as being, and that Buddha nature has three aspects: the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. And these you can easily now see that this is exactly what we're having. The clear of this displaying is the Dharmakaya, in which everything arises. The appearances arising are the Nirmanakaya, the arising of a manifestation that is thought to pertain to the physical world. But now you see how it doesn't really pertain to the physical world. It pertains strictly to this, which is what Buddha nature is. It's said to be just pure consciousness. So it can't really be this. It's of the consciousness domain. And so that fits exactly, even better than some ideas of the Nirmanakaya. So the Nirmanakaya is the appearance arising, And then the Sambhogakaya is said to be the self nature, the enjoyment body of the Buddha, and that is the awareness of this. And you'll notice that awareness is clear. Um, and when you have awareness of the clear, that's context of the enjoyment body begins to relate, because you can discern as you work with this a very, very subtle bliss that arises when awareness and clear are engaged, and you discern that bliss is present in every moment, and um, and and a subtle joy arises, that joy and the sense of really just a fine bliss. And you begin to, with all of this together, you immediately begin to feel this sense of compassion, this sense of, oh, I wish everyone could experience this. This is why I'm presenting it. And as it works with you, if you feel the same way, you don't have to practice some kind of imagination that everyone has been my mother in the past. So this is a wonderful thought, but it's just now. It's like in the moment. It's like, oh, I wish everyone could have this freedom from suffering, emotional suffering, this equanimity that comes from just being of this clear nature, suffusing my aware consciousness beingness. And with that rising of compassion, it's towards every creature, because all the creatures have this. How is it that they all have this? They all have this reification, the reification process. You can see how this happens. You can see how it develops in the brain, because it's an evolutionary thing. It had to begin hundreds of millions of years ago, when creatures were developing vision, and of course it first developed as a means of navigating in the world, to see this object and get around it and so forth, before having a contact. It was all a matter of feeling. You had to feel the world by pressure, not merely touch, just this light sense of touch. That's the sensation that arises in consciousness. But the pressure, that's world. That's engaging the physical world. And this reification, this idea of being the world, due to the fact that we live in this world, which is a very hostile place. I like to illustrate the case of the need for reification with the story of, like, pictures some creature that is not reifying, and maybe a person, and say they're not reifying, and so they're just gazing, and oh, there's an orangey, some orangey thing, and then, oh, it's just a black in it, and oh, I see, and I see it's coming closer, and oh my goodness, it's a tiger, and a glomp, and at that point they've become the tiger's lunch, because it just took too long. But it's someone who has this process, bam, bam, then they look and they say, oh, tiger, I'm out of here, and they survive. And so this process of reification, making this seem to be the actual world and not just an appearance field, and superposed on the world, superimposed so we can get around in the world, but as the actual world itself, that developed in evolution of brain cells from hundreds of millions of years ago, and we're part of that evolution, of course. I mean, it's physical body, part of that physical evolution. And this is a wonderful thing. I mean, this physical body is living in the physical world. So we want to understand this discernment of our nature as being, as something that is profound in its way, but not a replacement. It's profound in its way, in giving us new tools, self-liberation in the clear of the natural state. Oh my gosh, how wonderful that is. And the realization of our ongoingness of the nature of being, It gives a clear understanding of so many things that are presented in a religious nature, of the ongoingness aspect of us, which includes spirit, but the fundamental aspect of our ongoing nature is the beingness, the aware experiencing of this display, the displaying which is both within and without. But now, which we've discovered with our outward path of vision. And so, with that introduction, I'm going to let you go. Bless and and wish that you work with this so that you feel the real reality of your true fundamental nature, beyond all the physical and even spirit aspects of your embodiments, as your pure true nature of being and ongoingness that you is giving you every iota of your aware experiencing throughout all of your moments ongoing. Bless. With that, I let you go for now. Come off it. Yay. I let you go. Bless.